Hello, I'm Phil Svitek, 360 Creative Coach, and this is my vlog. One of the things that I enjoy doing tremendously is teaching artists kind of how to tackle their dreams. And one of the ways I thought it would be beneficial was to do a vlog where I highlight my creative journey so that way you can kind of see how I'm applying the various teachings that I put out into the world. And so, one of the things that happened to me last week that I was invited to see American Shelby, which is a documentary on Carrol Shelby. So, if you've seen Ford v Ferrari, Matt Damon's character is he's portraying Carrol Shelby, and that's a very specific moment in time from Carrol Shelby's life. Obviously, he was with the Ford Motor Company for a number of years, and uh, whether the Cobra, the Viper, like he's just phenomenal guy, right? And beyond that, he's also done a lot. And so, one of the things when I look at Carrol Shelby's life and what that documentary did for me, which by the way is available on Netflix, so you can check it out if you're wondering what the hell I'm talking about. But I was invited to the special screening of it with various VIP members and so forth of the Shelby family and so forth. But anyway, the point being, I found the documentary very interesting because Carroll Shelby was someone who experienced the Great Depression. He experienced World War II. And these were very foundational things for him because he saw a dark time, but he also saw that there was ways to overcome it. And when you look at the longevity of his career, and he's had a number of, he was a racer, right? So he was a very successful race car driver. Then when that career was over, he got into car manufacturing and he became successful at that. And, so much so that he helped win the Ford Motor Company Le Mans, which is one of the most grueling races. It's a 24-hour race in France. It's like the pinnacle for the world, right? And he ended the reign of Ferrari, hence Ford v Ferrari as far as the movie with Matt Damon. But then after that, when essentially, like, let's say his contract was up with Ford, rather than be pissed off or anything like that, the guy goes and all of a sudden creates a chili contest. And like in America, there wouldn't be chili. I mean, someone else maybe would have had the idea, but he's the one that like started chili competitions because he just loved chili. And he just, no matter what came in his life, he just kept going, kept going, kept going, never bitched and complained. And I think that is a very important aspect to anyone. It's a very stoic idea that you don't control what happens to you in life, but you do control how you react to it. And rather than be pissed off and negative, just continue forward. And I feel like a lot of people, they talk about Americans being very litigious and things like that. And I find that to be sort of true. I think people's initial gut instinct is to say, oh, I got screwed over. And to me, that's looking in the rearview mirror, right? You're not looking forward. Now, that doesn't mean you should be taken advantage of, or if something truly bad happens to you, that you shouldn't say or do something about it, whether through legal means or otherwise. But it shouldn't be the default necessarily, at least in my opinion. And there's certain things that have happened in my life, and I look back, I'm like, okay, yeah, that wasn't necessarily fair, quote unquote, or at least from my perspective. But on to the next. I keep moving forward. I take what I learned from that experience and apply it moving forward, right? And I would encourage you to do the same. And another thing that I've kind of been considering is this notion, everything, as long as it comes from a place of you wanting to create rather than destroy, then I think things turn out for the best. And certainly in my life, whenever I approach it from that perspective, they do. And what I mean by this, even in the simple sense of a lot of people create like, okay, I'm going to stop doing X, Y, and Z. And rather than say, never going to do these things, change it to what you will do. It's like the movie Inception. Not going to spoil it if you haven't seen it, but there's this idea that positive emotion always trumps negative emotion. And when you want to do something because it's a passion of yours versus like, oh, I'm going to eliminate this, elimination generally tends to be from a negative emotion, right? And so that's why, like, when I see Carrol Shelby or the things that I'm doing that I want to be doing, I always look at it, okay, what is the positive? What do I want to add versus like, oh, I'm never doing that again. I got to eliminate that. So that's my advice to you. Now, the other aspects in terms of what I've been doing primarily, a couple of things. So last week I was doing a lot of the heavy lifting for the back end of my feature film that I've been editing. And that was an experience. I finally put all of it together. And my biggest worry kind of going into it was, would there be enough story here to make a feature film? Because I knew no matter what, like when you assemble a movie, it generally tends to be a little bit longer than what the final product is. And so my worry was like, what if this thing ends up being an hour and 20 and then I have to cut like 10 minutes still out of the movie and then we have a 70-minute movie? And not that that's bad, but like I just really wanted, my goal is to make a feature film that's like 120 minutes, somewhere around there. I knew it was never going to be like an hour and 45 type of movie, but I was aiming for like 120, 125. The good news is it came in at 132, so an hour and 32 minutes, which now gives me over 12 minutes to play with in terms of being able to cut of the goal that I'm going for, which is great because there's definitely stuff that needs to be cut. And I had sent out this link that when you assemble these things, it's very difficult. Like I wanted to see things play out as written on the script, even though I knew certain things probably were going to get cut and things like that. But I was like, you know what, let's just see it so we can see it in the full context rather than, when you're editing these things, it's, scene by scene, shot by shot. And I didn't want to get too granular yet without seeing the whole scope of it and what the hell I made. And so I got it to a place that was watchable. I say watchable because there's production audio that's, needs to be kind of separated out in terms of the channels, volume needs to be finessed. Visual effect shots are missing, things like that. But, so you put in like placeholders of just text that says, there will be this, or sound effect of this. So it's what I call watchable. And I was lucky enough that my friends, John Comerford and Courtney Stewart, both who are producers on the movie, they watched it, we came over. And a lot of the things that I felt kind of even at the start, like the script process, they raised in terms of, okay, this is problematic with the movie, but the cool part is we came up with ways to solve it. And I think that one of the reasons I got behind this project, why I wanted to do this for myself and for everyone else, was so we can figure out, okay, how to overcome any creative obstacle. And so, the good news is the things that were in the movie are actually all very fixable. And it's not a huge overhaul. It's actually, just minor things overall. We do have to do some additional photography, as they say, for just to punch up certain aspects. So it's not necessarily a reshoot because we're not reshooting anything. We're just adding a couple of things here and there to make things work a little bit. But it's honestly like 2 hours worth of filming, which in the grand scheme of things is not that hard. And sometimes like reshoots and additional photography can have like a negative connotation. Every movie needs that ability because try as you may, you're never going to get 100% what you're intending on the day, right? I've talked about this before, but there's the movie you write, there's the movie you shoot, and there's the movie you edit. Well, now that we've filmed everything, we need to punch up certain things, and so we're gonna do that. But overall, I'm very excited. I know John and Courtney in particular said, like, make sure to take time and applaud yourself and give yourself a pat on the back for what you've accomplished, and I do. But at the same time, it's not just my victory, it's the whole cast and crew, albeit a small one, but nonetheless, each individual that was a part of it worked really hard, so it's kudos to all of us. But I always look at, okay, it's not done yet, and I can't have that moment of break, and especially, like, we're trying to make a submission deadline, which is March 2nd, So in the grand scheme of things, when you look at it, we have like a month and a half, maybe plus a few days, maybe, but overall a month and a half. So time is of the essence, but everything's on track now. Granted, I'm not if if all came down to it and we did the best we could, all of us, between the composer, between the colorist, between sound design, my editing, and so forth, if we don't make that deadline, so be it. We're gonna just push it and go from there. Now, in terms of what's kind of cool for those of you who don't know, usually with film festival submissions and so forth, you don't have to have the final product, but you want it to be representative of the movie, and you don't want things to take people out of the movie. So we have to get it to like I would say like 90% there. So it's going to need color correction. It might not have all the full, like, let's say, Foley and things of that nature, but sound is clean and can be heard. Soundtrack is overall there. Editing is, overall there. Visual effects shots are placed in. So that's the place I want to get it to. But if for some reason we don't make that deadline, that's okay. But the cool part is, like, if we get it there, then we still can tinker with the movie up until the release of the festival. They have their, because they just need a working version that they can see and check out and approve, and then, like I said, that gives us enough time to still tinker. So we'll see. But I am overall really excited by that. So looking forward to that. Beyond that, I have started the process of looking into publishers for my novel. So that's been interesting, and luckily I know some people in that have been published. Now I know a lot. I know more people that have been published in the nonfiction realm, but as far as the fiction realm, I know a tiny bit of people, and so I'm gonna tap into them, and I have been tapping into them. This is one of those. Last week I put out an episode about asking people for help, and this is a time I'm certainly needing to ask people for help, because there's a part of the process I don't know. I mean, first off, I've never written a book before. I mean, now at this point I've written a book, but now it needs to be revised to be a good book, so I'm still working on that. Now this is the next phase of it. And so I'm having to ask people for this help. And, one of the things why I'm confident and allowing myself to do it is because, I have worked hard on the book. This is the next phase of it. And so I feel, I'm not just asking it, from somebody who hasn't put in the work on the actual product, which I feel sometimes a lot of people do. I've gone through the process and I believe in this. And so now it is that time. Plus, in terms of the people that I'm asking, it ranges from I've known them for a few years to, we're kind of just acquaintances or whatever else. But certainly I've treated them well. There's a level of respect there that even if we're not like the best of friends, we know of each other and we know how hard we both work. And so, I hope through that respect, I hope they can see like, oh, okay, yeah, I want to help this person out. And in turn, in the future, however I can help them, I will gladly return the favor type of thing, right? So that's kind of where I'm at. Also, I'll say, if you're watching this and any connections to publishers or editors or agents in the literary world, like anyone who can help me get a book published, a fiction book. It's a coming of age story. So, if you know anybody, hit me up on social media at Phil Svitek. I would truly appreciate that as I navigate through this world. If not, no worries. I will figure it out in the end ultimately. Going back to the movie for a second, the other thing that I was thinking about was this idea that as much as like people want success on a large scale, let's say like you're a worldwide brand, you could say Jay-Z, Beyonce, whoever else, right? Whoever like your idol is. One of the cool things for me is to look at anonymity as like a benefit, right? So the reason I bring up my movie is because if we had these sort of recognizable actors, if I was a recognizable person, I wouldn't have been able to shoot the movie that I shot, certainly not for the budget that we shot it at, because it would have drawn too much attention. And so I feel like I've always used anonymity to my benefit, and it'll be interesting to navigate that as now that social media is much more prevalent. I'm much more on social media. I'm not saying like all of a sudden I'm skyrocketing into whatever else, but certainly through my work as a host at AfterBuzz, being in front of the camera, even though primarily my job was behind the scenes, I have actually gotten recognized at outside by fans and so forth. But overall, I do appreciate. I don't know. I look at my career and also where I want to go, and I want to be able to help people. I want to be recognized and known, but not to the level where I can't go out to a grocery store and not be able to buy groceries, that type of thing, right? So I think that's been an aspect that's been cool and I want to maintain. But hey, at the end, if all of a sudden I blow up and I have like millions upon millions of followers and whatever else, then that's a very high class problem ultimately. But I think sometimes people get down on themselves, like if they're not known. And what I'm saying is, use it to your advantage. Like I shot a whole movie for basically $2,000 because of anonymity, you know, and so that's been cool. Anyway, these are just a couple of things that have been on my mind. The other aspect that I've been kind of thinking a lot about is this idea of experiential content, or just experience in general, as the next wave of fan engagement. And what I mean by this, there's like celebrity cruises. Adam Carolla does a lot of like events where fans come out on a cruise, and he interacts with them. They're on a cruise, he's on a cruise, so it's like fun like this. There's other aspects of it. So I don't know. It's just been I've been thinking a lot about that in my mind of whether it be like casino night, quote unquote, where fans and celebrities interact and have a fun night of essentially gambling, or could you do an escape room with celebrities and fans? Could you what's the limit you can push this, where you make it's almost like a conference or a Comic-Con, but intimate, right? Whereas a conference, you're seeing them on stage, or a Comic-Con, you're kind of seeing them behind a table and signing autographs, and sure, there's a little bit of an interaction, but how can you make that experience truly intimate? So that's something that's been on my mind. And if you would like to join me in this kind of crazy, I don't have specifics. I'm trying to figure out, sort of line up what would be an event, what would be celebrities that would want to be part of that event. I'm trying to get a lay of the land. But if for some reason you want to go on this journey with me, I would be happy to welcome you on board. And because there's a number of things, like a spa day, where you had a bunch of celebrities do a spa day along with the fans. Like, how I don't think like spas get any more intimate. Like that's a pretty intimate experience. Anyway, so these are just a couple of things that have been on my mind, and whatever else. So hopefully that helps you in your journey in any way, shape, or form. If nothing else, just keep going. I know perhaps that sounds like a lot of stuff that I'm doing, but it's also because I have years of experience. I'll leave with this last thing. A lot of people, they look at their icon and they're like, oh, this is what I want to become. And they think they need to become that in the next year. And it's like, no. That's great. Let that be a guiding light. But instead of looking at where they're at now, look at how that person started and take those steps, right? Because obviously, let's take a J-Lo, right? She had to start her career somewhere to become who she is now, with the amazing body of work that she has through her music and movies and so forth. So what's that first step? Don't try to be J-Lo now. Try to be J-Lo back then and make those initial steps. Learn their strategy. Now, again, times have changed, so don't completely mimic it, but there are foundations in terms of the strategy that you can take. So let that be a guiding light. Anyway, I think I've rambled enough at this point. I'm at Phil Svitek on social media. Happy to converse with you there. And as always, feel free to subscribe right here, right now, or follow, so that way you get all this various content that I put out for free, and so it can benefit you. And the more you interact with me in the comment section of what you would like to see, advice that you're looking for, the more I can cater to your specific needs, and because I'm very happy to do that. So please let me know. And if you could do one last favor, and that's to share with a friend. If someone would benefit from this, by all means just pass it on to them, whether or not they choose to listen at all, or why, whatever the case may be, that's up to that person. But if you feel like in your heart of hearts they would benefit from this, let them know. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.